I can still hear the bass from the Afrobeat music vibrating through the floorboards of the luxury hotel hallway. It was a heavy thumping rhythm that usually made me want to dance, but right then, it just made my headache worse. I was standing in the empty corridor of the third floor, clutching my small clutch bag so tight my knuckles were turning white. My husband, Malik, had been gone for exactly 28 minutes. I know the time because I had checked my phone screen 5 times, trying not to look like that jealous, crazy wife at her own brother's wedding. Malik told me he had to take a business call because of the time difference with his partners in Lagos. He gave me a quick kiss on the forehead, straightened his suit jacket, and slipped out of the ballroom. That was almost half an hour ago. "He's just working, Naya. Stop tripping," I whispered to myself, trying to smooth out the silk of my bridesmaid's dress. But I couldn't shake the bad vibes. That heavy feeling in my gut, the one I had been ignoring for months, was screaming at me now. The late nights at the office, the way he started locking his phone, the way he suddenly started caring about hitting the gym 5 days a week. And then there was Keisha, my cousin Keisha. She had been acting weird too, giggling too much around him, always finding a reason to touch his arm when she laughed. But I pushed it down. That's family. You don't suspect family. This is where the story truly begins. Before we dive in, what time is it where you are? Which country are you watching from? Leave a comment and let me know. And please hit that like button and subscribe to become part of the Family Fractures community for more inspiring stories. I decided to stop waiting. I walked past the elevators and headed toward the VIP suites. My brother Jamal had rented out the whole floor for the wedding party to get ready, so it was quiet up here. The carpet swallowed the sound of my heels. I passed a few closed doors, checking the numbers. I knew Malik usually came up here to take calls because the reception was bad downstairs. "Malik?" I called out, keeping my voice low. I didn't want to cause a scene. No answer. Then I heard it, a low laugh coming from the suite at the end of the hall, the one reserved for the groomsmen. It wasn't a man's laugh. It was high-pitched, breathless, a sound I recognized. I stopped breathing. I crept closer to the door. It was cracked open just a tiny bit, letting a sliver of yellow light spill onto the hallway carpet. I should have turned around. I should have gone back downstairs, grabbed a glass of champagne, and pretended everything was fine. But my feet wouldn't move backward. They only moved forward. I pushed the door open an inch more. My heart didn't just break, it completely stopped. Malik was there, sitting on the edge of the velvet sofa, his tie undone, looking more relaxed than I had seen him in years. But he wasn't on a call. He was holding on to someone, Keisha. My cousin Keisha, who I grew up with, who I shared clothes with, was straddling his lap, her hands tangled in his fresh haircut. She was wearing her reception dress, the gold sequins shimmering under the room lights. They were kissing deep, messy, and passionate, like they had been starving for each other. "I told you she wouldn't come up here," Keisha whispered against his lips as she pulled back for air. "She's too busy playing the perfect sister." "I know," Malik chuckled, running his hands down her back. "I know. She's clueless. That's why I love you, baby. You keep it exciting." The room started spinning. I felt like I was going to throw up right there on the expensive carpet. My husband, my cousin, at my brother's wedding. While the whole family was downstairs celebrating love, they were up here destroying mine. I opened my mouth to scream. I wanted to rush in there and tear them apart. I wanted to make sure every single person in that building heard my pain. But before a sound could leave my throat, a heavy hand clamped down on my shoulder. I jumped, spinning so fast I almost tripped over my dress. It was my brother, Jamal, the groom. He looked sharp in his tuxedo, not a single wrinkle on him, looking calm as still water. He didn't look like a man who should be at his own wedding reception. He looked like a general surveying a battlefield. "Jamal," I choked out, tears instantly flooding my eyes. I pointed a shaking finger at the door. "They, inside, Malik and Keisha." "Shh," Jamal whispered, putting a finger to his lips. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look angry. He didn't kick the door down. Instead, he looked at me with this strange, cold smile that didn't match the situation at all. He leaned down close to my ear, his voice smooth and steady. "I know, Naya. I've known for 6 weeks." I stared at him, my brain freezing. "What? You knew? Why didn't you—" Grip my arm, firm but gentle, pulling me away from the door before they could spot us. "Don't go in there now," he said, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that scared me. "Wipe your face, fix your dress." "Trust you, Jamal. My life is over." "No," he said, and then he actually winked at me, a chilling, confident wink. "Your life is just starting, but their lives? That's about to be a wrap. Just wait 10 minutes, sis. I promise you, the chaos hasn't even started yet." Jamal didn't give me time to argue. He guided me down the hallway, his grip firm on my elbow, steering me like a ship through a storm. We ducked into a small room that was being used for storage. Stacks of extra chairs and boxes of wedding favors were everywhere. It was dimly lit, quiet, and far away from the party noise. "Stay here," Jamal commanded, his voice low but serious. "Don't come out. Don't confront them. Not yet." "Jamal, are you crazy?" I snapped, my voice cracking. "My husband is in there with my cousin. I need to go in there and—" "And do what, Naya?" Jamal cut me off, his eyes hard. "Scream? Cry? Let Malik lie to your face like he's been doing for months? You know how smooth he is. He'll talk his way out of it. Say it was a misunderstanding. Say you're being dramatic. And half the family will believe him because they love him." I opened my mouth, then closed it. He was right. Malik could sell ice to an Eskimo. He was charming, successful, the golden boy everyone adored. "Give me 10 minutes, Jamal said, checking his watch again. 10 minutes, and I promise you, everyone will know exactly who they are. Just sit tight." He slipped out the door and clicked it shut, leaving me alone in the semi-darkness. I sank onto a stack of chairs, my legs finally giving out. My hands were shaking so bad I had to clasp them together in my lap. I closed my eyes, and suddenly the last 6 months flashed through my mind like a movie I never wanted to watch. It started back in April. Keisha had just gone through a messy breakup and needed a place to crash for a few weeks while she got back on her feet. Of course I said yes. We were family. We were tight. "Girl, you are a lifesaver," Keisha had said, hugging me in my foyer, her bags piled up around us. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Malik had been so welcoming, too welcoming. "Whatever you need, cuz," Malik had said, flashing that $1,000,000 smile. "Family helps family. Make yourself at home." I remembered coming home from work one Tuesday, exhausted, my feet killing me. I walked into the kitchen and found them cooking dinner together. The music was blasting, some old-school R&B, and they were laughing. Not just polite laughter, but that deep, belly-laughing kind where you have to catch your breath. Malik was chopping vegetables, and Keisha was at the stove, tasting the sauce. She held the spoon up to his mouth. "Taste this. Tell me if it needs more spice." He leaned in, tasted it, and looked at her with eyes that lingered a little too long. "Perfect," he said, "just like you." When they saw me, the vibe shifted instantly. The music got turned down, the laughter stopped. "Hey, babe," Malik said, coming over to kiss my cheek. "Keisha was just teaching me her secret sauce recipe." "Yeah, just trying to earn my keep," Keisha chimed in, smiling that sweet, innocent smile. I felt a prick of jealousy then, but I shoved it down. "Don't be insecure, Naya," I told myself. "That's your cousin, that's your husband. Stop trippin'." Over the next few weeks, things got weirder. Malik started working late more often. He claimed his logistics business was expanding, that he had new clients across town. But whenever he came home, he didn't look tired, he looked energized. He smelled like expensive cologne, not office coffee. And Keisha? She started buying new clothes, designer bags. When I asked how she could afford them since she was still looking for a job, she waved me off. "Oh, I saved up," or "My ex sent me some money he owed me." I believed it. I believed all of it because I wanted to, because the alternative was too painful to even think about. I sat there in that dark storage room, tears hot on my face. Jamal knew. My brother knew. How long? He said 6 weeks. That meant while I was helping him plan this wedding, while I was tasting cakes and picking out flowers, he was watching my husband creep around with my cousin. Why did he wait until today? Why did he let the wedding happen? A sound from the hallway snapped me out of my thoughts. Footsteps, fast and heavy. I held my breath. Was it Malik? Had he realized I was gone? The footsteps stopped right outside the door. I saw the handle turn. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. If Malik walked in here right now, I didn't know if I would scream or collapse. But the door didn't open. The footsteps continued down the hall, fading away toward the stairs. I checked my phone. 8 minutes had passed since Jamal left. 2 more minutes. I couldn't just sit there. I needed to know what was happening. I needed to see what Jamal's plan was. I stood up, wiped my face with the back of my hand, and crept to the door. I cracked it open just a sliver. The hallway was empty, but the music downstairs had changed. The upbeat party tracks were gone. It was silent, dead silent. Then I heard Jamal's voice booming over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, can I have everyone's attention, please?" I slipped out of the room and tiptoed to the railing of the balcony that overlooked the grand ballroom. I had to see this. Jamal was standing center stage, microphone in hand. The spotlight was on him. He looked powerful. "Before we cut the cake," Jamal said, his voice smooth but with an edge that cut through the air, "I have a special presentation, a little story about loyalty." I looked down at the crowd. I saw my parents, I saw Keisha's mom, and then I saw them. Malik and Keisha were standing near the bar. Malik had his hand on the small of her back. They looked confused, but not scared. Not yet. They had no idea that the ground beneath them was about to open up. From my spot on the balcony, hiding behind a marble pillar, I had the perfect view of the carnage that was about to unfold. The room was dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. 200 guests, aunts in their big Sunday hats, uncles in sharp suits, friends from college, all turned their eyes to the stage. Jamal stood there, looking like he owned the building. He adjusted his tie, cool as a cucumber. "You know," Jamal started, his voice echoing through the speakers, "we always talk about how love is built on trust, on honesty. But sometimes people take that trust and they treat it like a joke. They think because you're quiet, you're blind." I saw Malik shift his weight near the bar. He took a sip of his drink, looking around nervously. He knew Jamal. He knew my brother didn't do cryptic speeches. Malik leaned over and whispered something to Keisha. She giggled, covering her mouth with her hand. Seeing that giggle made my blood boil. It reminded me of a conversation I had with Jamal just a month ago. I was at Jamal's apartment helping him stuff envelopes for the wedding invites. We were eating takeout, just vibing. Suddenly, Jamal stopped eating. "Naya," he said, putting his fork down, "how's Malik doing? He seems busy lately." "Oh, you know him," I said, not looking up from the invites. "Business is booming. He's been hitting the gym hard, too. Says he wants to get that college body back." Jamal didn't say anything for a long moment. "The gym, huh? Which one? The one on 4th Street?" "Yeah, 24-hour fitness. Why?" "Nothing," Jamal said, but he had this look in his eyes, a look I couldn't read back then. "I stopped by there yesterday to drop off a guest pass. The guy at the front desk said Malik canceled his membership 3 months ago." I froze for a second, then laughed it off. No, you probably got the wrong name, or maybe he switched gyms and forgot to tell me. You know how men are. Right, Jamal said, his voice flat. I guess I was mistaken. He wasn't mistaken. I was just in denial. I defended my husband because I didn't want to face the truth. I didn't want to see the red flags waving right in my face. Back in the ballroom, Jamal signaled the DJ. The lights dimmed even more. I prepared a little slideshow, Jamal announced. I wanted to highlight some special moments leading up to this day. Everyone clapped politely. They expected baby photos. They expected cute pictures of Jamal and his new wife, Tasha. The massive projector screen behind the stage flickered to life. A blue light washed over the crowd. But it wasn't a baby photo. It was a security camera timestamp, May 14th, 11:30 p.m. The image was grainy, black and white, but clear enough. It showed the entrance of a building, my building, but not the front door. It was the side entrance, the one near the garage that nobody really uses unless they're trying to be sneaky. A car pulled up, a black Range Rover, Malik's car. The crowd squinted at the screen. I saw Malik freeze. His drink was halfway to his mouth and he just stopped. On the screen, the driver's door opened. Malik stepped out. He looked around, checking over his shoulder, acting suspicious. Then the passenger door opened. A woman stepped out. She was wearing a hoodie, trying to hide her face, but then she looked up at the camera. A collective gasp ripped through the room. Is that the cousin?" Someone whispered loudly near the front. "Wait, isn't that Naya's husband?" another voice asked. Jamal didn't say a word. He just let the image sit there, burning into everyone's retinas. Downstairs, Keisha's face went gray. She took a step back from Malik like he was suddenly contagious. Malik looked like he had been punched in the gut. He started looking for an exit, his eyes darting around like a trapped rat. But Jamal wasn't done. "Hold on," Jamal said into the mic, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "We're just getting started. You might want to put your drinks down for this next part." He clicked the remote again, and if they thought the picture was bad, what came next was about to set the entire room on fire. The screen flickered again, and this time it wasn't a grainy photo. It was a screenshot of text messages, clear as crystal, blow-up size, so even the folks in the back row could read every dirty word. The contact name at the top read, "Lil Cuz, Wispy." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. I felt sick to my stomach, but I couldn't look away. I gripped the railing so hard my nails were digging into the wood. Malik. "She's cooking that dry chicken again. I can't do this tonight. I need to be with you." Keisha. "Lol, just tell her you have a client dinner. She's so desperate to be the perfect wife, she won't ask questions. Come over." Malik. "On my way. I love how you get me. She's just boring, no flavor." Keisha. "Don't worry, baby. Once you get that investment from her dad, we can stop pretending. We'll be set." The room erupted. It wasn't just gasps anymore. It was angry shouts. My father, who had treated Malik like a son, who had helped him start his logistics company, stood up so fast his chair fell backward with a loud crash. "Investment?" my dad roared, his voice shaking the walls. "You were playing me for money?" Malik was sweating bullets now. He wasn't looking at the screen. He was looking at my dad, his hands raised in surrender. "No, Pops, wait! It's not what it looks like! That's fake! Someone hacked my phone!" Malik shouted, his voice cracking. He looked desperate, like a man trying to stop a tsunami with an umbrella. Keisha was shaking her head violently, tears streaming down her face, ruining her makeup. "It's not true! Auntie, tell them! It's Photoshop!" she screamed at her mother. But nobody was listening to them. The evidence was right there in 4K resolution. They weren't just cheating on me, they were laughing at me. They were calling me boring, desperate, flavorless. They were plotting to steal my father's retirement money and run off into the sunset. Jamal didn't let up. He leaned into the mic, his voice ice cold. "Hacked?" Jamal asked, raising an eyebrow. "That's funny, Malik, because I have the receipts for the hotel room you booked last weekend, too, under your business account." Malik snapped, his cool, calm facade completely shattered. He lunged toward the stage, his face twisted in rage. "Turn it off, Jamal! You're crossing the line!" Malik screamed, pushing past a waiter, knocking a tray of champagne glasses to the floor. Crash! Glass shattered everywhere. People screamed and jumped back. I thought he was going to attack my brother. My heart leapt into my throat. I almost ran down the stairs right then and there. But before Malik could even get close to the stage, two massive security guards, guys I had never seen before, stepped out from the shadows. They blocked Malik's path like a brick wall. Jamal didn't even flinch. He just stood there, looking down at Malik like he was a bug he was about to squash. "Sit down, Malik," Jamal said, his voice booming over the speakers, "or get thrown out. Because the best part, it hasn't even played yet." Malik froze. The fear in his eyes was real now. He looked back at Keisha, then at the exits, but the groomsmen had quietly moved to block the doors. He was trapped. I watched from the balcony, trembling. I thought the texts were the worst of it. I thought knowing they wanted my dad's money was the rock bottom. But I was wrong. What Jamal put on the screen next didn't just expose an affair. It revealed a secret so dark it would tear our entire family tree up by the roots. The screen went black for a second, and the static sound hissed through the speakers. I wiped a tear from my cheek, my hands trembling. I thought I had seen enough. I thought the betrayal couldn't get any deeper than the money and the cheating. But Jamal looked out at the crowd, his face grim. He didn't look triumphant anymore. He looked sad. He looked like a big brother who hated what he had to do, but knew it was necessary to save my life. "You know," Jamal said softly, "Nia has been trying to start a family for 2 years. 2 years of doctor visits, hormone shots, crying in the bathroom when the test came back negative." I felt a fresh wave of pain hit me. How did he know? I kept that private. I only told Keisha. "She thought something was wrong with her," Jamal continued, locking eyes with Malik. "She blamed herself, but she didn't know that her husband wasn't just stressed at work. He was busy building a family somewhere else." Jamal pressed the button one last time. This time, it was a video from inside a car, a dash cam recording facing the interior. It was dated just 3 weeks ago. Malik was driving. Keisha was in the passenger seat, looking down at something in her hands, a long white stick. "It's positive, Malik," Keisha said on the video, her voice shaking. Malik slammed his hand on the steering wheel. "Are you serious? Right now? We are 3 weeks away from the wedding." "I can't help it," Keisha snapped back. "What are we going to do? Nia is going to notice I'm not drinking at the reception." Malik sighed, rubbing his temples. "Just fake it. Pour the champagne out when nobody is looking. We just need to get through the wedding, get the check from her dad, and then we bounce. We'll move to Houston. We'll raise the kid there." Keisha smiled, touching her stomach. "Our kid, finally!" Yeah, Malik said, reaching over to squeeze her thigh. Our kid. Don't worry, baby. Nia can keep the house. We'll have everything else. The video cut to black. The silence in the ballroom was heavy, suffocating. It was broken by the sound that haunts me to this day, the sound of my auntie, Keisha's mother, letting out a wail of pure grief. She collapsed into her chair, covering her face with her hands. "Pregnant?" she screamed, looking at her daughter. "With your cousin's husband? Have you lost your mind?" Keisha was sobbing now, hysterically. She tried to reach for her mom, but her mom pulled away, looking at her like she was a stranger. Malik just stood there, head down, defeated. The arrogant man who walked in here was gone. He looked small. Up on the balcony, I felt my legs give out. I slid down against the wall, pulling my knees to my chest. I couldn't breathe. All those nights I cried on Malik's shoulder because I couldn't get pregnant? All those times he told me, "It's God's timing, babe, don't worry." He was lying. He was getting my cousin pregnant while watching me mourn the children I couldn't have. I wanted to disappear. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. I couldn't face them. I couldn't face the pity in everyone's eyes. But then Jamal's voice cut through the chaos one more time. "Nia," Jamal called out, looking directly up at the balcony where I was hiding. "I know you're up there, and I know this hurts, but you need to come down here." My heart stopped. He was calling me out. "Don't hide, sis," Jamal said, his voice firm. "You didn't do anything wrong. They did. Come down here and finish this." I stood up, my legs shaking like leaves in the wind. I walked to the edge of the balcony. Every single face in that room turned up to look at me. The pity, the shock, the anger, it was all directed at me. I looked down at Malik. He looked up, and our eyes locked. For the first time in an hour, he looked terrified. Not because of Jamal, not because of the money, but because he saw something in my eyes he had never seen before. I wasn't the sweet, forgiving Nia anymore. I was someone else entirely. And as I took the first step towards the stairs, I knew exactly what I had to do. The crying was over. The show, it was just about to reach its climax. Walking down those marble stairs felt like moving through water. Every step was heavy, dragging against my will, but with every click of my heels against the stone, I felt something hardening inside my chest. The sadness was evaporating, burning off like morning fog, and in its place was a cold, sharp rage I didn't even know I was capable of. I reached the bottom of the staircase. Malik was there, waiting for me. He looked like a man trying to put toothpaste back in the tube, desperate, messy, and pathetic. He reached his hands out, trying to grab mine. "Nia, baby, please," he pleaded, his voice cracking. "Let's go outside. Let's talk about this privately. Jamal is tripping. He's manipulating the footage. You know technology these days. Deep fakes are real." I stopped just out of his reach. I looked him dead in the eye. I didn't see the man I married. I didn't see the charming smile or the warm eyes. I saw a stranger in a cheap suit. "Don't touch me," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. "And don't you ever call me baby again." "We can fix this," he whispered, sweat dripping down his temple. "The baby, Keisha, it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I'll fix it. I choose you, Nia. I choose you." "Fix it," I laughed, a dry, humorless sound that frightened even me. "You can't fix a shattered glass, Malik. You just sweep it up and throw it in the trash." I looked past him to where Keisha was sitting. She was huddled in her chair, clutching her stomach, refusing to look at me. Her mascara was running down her face in black streaks. "And you," I said, my voice carrying to her, "my blood, my sister, you wanted my life so bad, you wanted my husband, you can have him, because I don't keep garbage in my house." My dad stepped forward then. He looked 10 years older than he did an hour ago, his face gray with shock. He walked up to Malik, reached into his tuxedo pocket, and pulled out a folded check, the investment Malik had been begging for to save his failing logistics company. It was for $150,000. "You wanted this?" Dad asked, his voice shaking with fury. Malik's eyes tracked the paper. Even in his panic, the greed was still there. Dad ripped the check in half, then in quarters. He threw the confetti pieces into Malik's face. "You're fired, son," Dad spat out, "effective immediately. And don't bother coming to the office to get your things. Security is already clearing out your desk and changing the locks." Malik stumbled back, looking like he'd been physically slapped. His job, his funding, his reputation gone in seconds. But Jamal wasn't done. He hopped off the stage, looking energized, holding a thick manila folder. "You worried about the investment, Pops?" Jamal said, handing the folder to me. "Don't worry, I did some digging into that business expansion Malik claimed he was doing, the one he needed the money for." I opened the folder. My eyes widened as I scanned the documents inside. "What is this?" I asked, looking up at my brother. "It's the lease to the warehouse on 5th Street and the deed to your house," Jamal said, smiling that dangerous smile again. "Malik thinks he was slick, putting everything in the company name to hide assets in case of a divorce, but he forgot one thing." I looked at the signature line on the documents. It wasn't Malik's signature. It was a scribble that looked nothing like his. "He forged my signature?" I asked, feeling the rage spike again. "Worse," Jamal said, turning to face Malik, who was now trembling so hard he could barely stand. "He didn't just forge it. He filed the paperwork under a shell company that doesn't legally exist, which means legally—" Jamal paused, letting the silence stretch out, watching Malik squirm. "Legally, he doesn't own a damn thing. Not the warehouse, not the cars, and definitely not your house. But that's not the surprise," Jamal said, leaning in close to Malik's face. "The surprise is what the police found in those shipping crates you were supposed to be managing." Malik's knees actually buckled. He grabbed the back of a chair to stay upright, his face turning an ashy gray color. "Police?" Malik squeaked out. "Oh yeah," Jamal nodded, checking his watch. "You didn't think we were just going to fire you, did you? Bruh, you're not going home to pack, you're going to jail. And wait until you hear what they found in those shipping crates you were supposed to be managing." "Stolen luxury car parts," Jamal said, his voice ringing out clearly in the silent ballroom. "High-end engines, navigation systems, rims. You were running a chop shop distribution ring out of my sister's warehouse. You thought because it was under a shell company, nobody would trace it back to you. But you got sloppy, Malik. You got greedy." Malik shook his head violently, sweat flying off his forehead. "No, that's a lie. I was just storing crates for a partner. I didn't know what was in them. Naya, you have to believe me." He turned to me, his eyes wide and desperate, pleading for me to save him like I always did. But I just crossed my arms. The man standing in front of me wasn't a victim. He was a con artist who had played me for a fool. "You knew exactly what was in them," I said, my voice cold. "That's why you wouldn't let me visit the warehouse last month. You said it was under construction. You were hiding your dirty work." Suddenly, the wail of sirens cut through the air outside, getting louder and louder until they stopped right in front of the venue. Blue and red lights flashed through the tall windows, painting the ballroom in a chaotic strobe light rhythm. The double doors swung open, and 4 uniformed officers marched in, led by a detective in a plain suit. The guests parted like the Red Sea, gasps rippling through the crowd again. "Malik Johnson?" the detective barked, scanning the room. Malik took a step back, bumping into the table behind him. He looked for an escape route, but there was nowhere to go. I want a lawyer," he stammered. "You can tell it to the judge," the detective said, snapping handcuffs onto Malik's wrists. The metal click echoed in the room, a sound so final, so satisfying, it felt like music to my ears. As they started to drag him away, Malik lost it. The smooth, cool businessman facade completely melted away. He started thrashing, trying to twist out of the officer's grip. "Wait, wait, it wasn't just me!" Malik screamed, his eyes locking onto Keisha, who was still frozen in her chair. "She knew! Keisha knew! She helped me launder the money through her accounts! She's in on it too! Don't let her walk away!" Keisha shot up from her chair, her hand flying to her chest. "You lying snake!" she shrieked. "I didn't know anything about stolen parts. You signed the checks," Malik yelled back as the officers shoved him toward the door. "You're an accessory, Keisha. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. We're partners, remember? Bonnie and Clyde." I watched as my husband, my ex-husband, was hauled out of the wedding reception screaming accusations at his mistress. It was pathetic, it was tragic, and it was exactly what he deserved. The room fell quiet again, the only sound being the distant sirens fading away. All eyes turned to Keisha. She stood there, trembling, looking at the door where Malik had just disappeared. She looked at her mother, who turned her face away in shame. She looked at Jamal, who was checking his nails like he was bored. Then she looked at me. "Naya," she whispered, tears streaming down her face again. "He's lying. You know he's lying. I made a mistake falling for him, but I didn't steal anything. Please, I'm pregnant. You can't let them take me." I walked over to her, close enough to smell her expensive perfume she probably bought with my father's money. I looked down at her stomach, then up at her eyes. "You're right," I said softly. "You are pregnant, and that baby is the only innocent person in this room." I turned to the detective, who was still standing there, watching the scene unfold. He had a second pair of handcuffs on his belt. "Officer," I asked, pointing at my cousin, "did you find her name on the paperwork too?" The detective pulled a folded paper from his pocket and checked it. He looked at Keisha, then back at me. He didn't smile, but his eyes said everything I needed to know. "We have a warrant for a Keisha Williams, wire fraud and money laundering." Keisha screamed, but that wasn't the shocker. The shocker was what happened when she tried to run. She stumbled, grabbing onto the tablecloth, and her purse fell to the floor, spilling its contents everywhere. Lipstick, a phone, keys, and something else. Something that made the entire room freeze for the second time that night. The detective looked down at the spilled items, picked up the object, and held it up. It wasn't what we thought it was. And suddenly, Malik's baby story started to look very, very different. The detective held the item up high so the light from the chandeliers caught it. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't drugs. It was a bright pink box of tampons. An open box. The room went dead silent again. I looked from the box to Keisha, then down at her baby bump. "You..." I started, my voice trembling with a mix of shock and pure disgust. "You aren't pregnant." Keisha froze. The tears stopped instantly. The terrified victim act dropped like a heavy curtain, and for the first time that night, I saw the real Keisha, the cold, calculating woman who had been smiling in my face while stabbing me in the back. "Keisha?" her mother whispered, stepping forward. "Please tell me you didn't lie about a child. Tell me you didn't fake a pregnancy to trap a married man." Keisha straightened up. She wiped her face, smearing the black mascara across her cheek. She didn't look sorry anymore. She looked annoyed. "I had to," Keisha snapped, her voice shrill. "Malik was getting cold feet. He kept talking about how guilty he felt, how he might want to work things out with Nia. I couldn't let him walk away with the money from the business deal. I needed insurance." "Insurance?" I repeated, stepping closer to her. "You faked a human life as insurance to steal my husband and my father's money?" He was never going to leave you, Nia, Keisha spat back, venom in her voice. He was too comfortable. He liked your cooking. He liked the house. I had to give him a reason to leave. A baby was the only thing that would make him sign those divorce papers. A collective groan of disgust rippled through the guests. I saw my dad turn his back on her, unable to even look at his niece. "You played yourself," Jamal said from the stage, shaking his head. "You tried to trap a scammer, and you ended up scamming yourself. Malik is going to prison for theft. You're going to prison for fraud, and neither of you is getting a dime." Keisha looked around the room, realizing she had no allies left, no Malik to protect her, no mother to comfort her, no cousin to save her. "Officer," I said, looking at the detective, "get her out of my sight." The detective nodded. He grabbed Keisha's wrists and spun her around. "Keisha Williams, you're under arrest." "No, wait, Auntie!" Keisha screamed as the cuffs clicked tight. She looked at her mom, desperate. "Mom, do something! Call a lawyer! I'm your daughter!" Her mother looked at her, eyes red and swollen, and said the hardest thing a mother probably ever has to say. "I don't have a daughter," she whispered, her voice breaking. "My daughter wouldn't do this to family. I don't know who you are." Keisha screamed as they dragged her out the same doors Malik had gone through. Her heels scraped against the floor, leaving black marks on the white marble. When the doors swung shut behind her, the energy in the room shifted. The adrenaline crashed. The music was long gone. The cake sat uncut in the corner. The party was over. I stood in the middle of the dance floor, feeling strangely light. My husband was gone. My cousin was gone. The toxic secret that had been rotting my life from the inside out had finally been cut out. Jamal hopped off the stage and walked over to me. He put a heavy hand on my shoulder. "You okay, sis?" he asked quietly. I looked at him. "You ruined your own wedding for me, Jamal. Tasha is going to kill you." I looked over at Tasha, his new bride. She was sitting at the head table, sipping champagne, looking completely unbothered. She caught my eye and raised her glass. "Worth it," Tasha mouthed, winking at me. I laughed, a real, genuine laugh that bubbled up from my chest. I hugged Jamal, burying my face in his tuxedo jacket. "Thank you. You saved me." "I always got your back," Jamal said, squeezing me tight. "But listen, the night isn't over yet." "Please, Jamal," I pulled back, wiping my eyes. "No more drama. I just want to go home and sleep for a week." "No more drama," Jamal promised, "but we can't let a good venue go to waste, and we definitely can't let you go home to that empty house. Not tonight." He turned to the DJ, who was awkwardly standing in the silence. "Yo, Mike," Jamal yelled, "play something for my sister, something about freedom." The DJ grinned and hit a button. Beyoncé's "Break My Soul" blasted through the speakers. "You won't break my soul," the lyrics rang out. I smiled. For the first time in months, I actually felt it. I was broken, yes, but I was still standing. But as I looked around the room at the guests slowly starting to relax, I realized something. Malik was gone, Keisha was gone, but the financial mess they left behind? The mortgage fraud? The business loans? I grabbed Jamal's arm. "Wait, Jamal, Malik forged my signature on the house deed. If the police seize his assets, do they take my house too?" Jamal's smile faded just a fraction. He looked at the folder in his hand, then back at me. "That's the one thing we need to talk about," he said seriously. "There's one more document in here I didn't show you, and it changes everything about your financial future." "Your house?" Jamal repeated, a slow grin spreading across his face. He tapped the document with his index finger. "Read the fine print, Naya. Line 4. I squinted at the paper, my hands still shaking from the adrenaline dump. It was an incorporation document for a company called Infinity Holdings, LLC. The company that Malik had secretly transferred the deed of our house to last month. He had done it to hide the asset, to make sure that if his illegal business went bust, the authorities couldn't link the house to his name. I scanned down to line 4. Sole proprietor and managing member, Naya Jenkins. I looked up at Jamal, confused. Jenkins? That's my maiden name. But why? Because Malik is arrogant, Jamal chuckled, shaking his head. He couldn't put the company in his name because he has a criminal record from way back that he never told you about. And he couldn't put it in Keisha's name because her credit score is in the trash. So he thought he was being a genius. He created a shell company, forged your signature to make you the owner, and planned to bully you into signing power of attorney over to him later. Jamal leaned in closer, his eyes sparkling with mischief. But he never got around to that power of attorney part. I checked with my lawyer this morning. Legally, on paper, you are the sole owner of Infinity Holdings. Okay, I said slowly, trying to process the legalese. So I own the company, but what does the company have? It has the deed to your house, free and clear, and it has the bank account where Malik was stashing his clean money, the money he skimmed off the top before buying those stolen parts. My mouth fell open. How much? $85,000, Jamal said casually, sitting in an account with your name on it. He was hiding it from the police, hiding it from his partners, and hiding it from you. But since he made you the legal owner to cover his tracks, congratulations, sis. You just got a very nice severance package. I felt the air rush back into my lungs. I wasn't homeless. I wasn't broke. In his attempt to be greedy and secretive, Malik accidentally secured my financial freedom. He had played himself in the worst way possible. He really thought I was that stupid, I whispered, a mix of anger and validation washing over me. He thought I was just the boring wife who didn't understand business. He underestimated you, Tasha said, walking over and handing me a glass of water. And now he's going to spend the next 10 to 15 years thinking about that mistake in a 6x8 cell. The reality of it finally hit me. I was free. No husband lying to me, no cousin stealing from me, no financial ruin. Come on, Jamal said, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. The police have finished their sweep. The guests are leaving. Let's get out of here. Mom and Dad are waiting in the limo. We're going to Waffle House. I laughed through my tears. Waffle House? In a bridesmaid's dress? It's tradition, Jamal grinned. Besides, you're the owner of Infinity Holdings now. You can wear whatever you want. We walked out of the venue, past the stunned guests who were still whispering, past the empty chair where Keisha had sat, and out into the cool night air. The flashing lights of the police cars were gone. It was just the moon and the quiet hum of the city. I took a deep breath. It smelled like rain and exhaust, but to me, it smelled like a fresh start. I climbed into the limo with my family, the people who actually loved me, the people who didn't need to lie to me. As the driver pulled away from the curb, I looked out the window at the venue fading into the distance. I thought about Malik sitting in a holding cell right now, realizing that his master plan had just bought his wife a new life. But if you think the story ends with a Waffle House celebration, you're wrong. Because 3 months later, I received a letter from prison. It wasn't an apology, it was a threat, and it forced me to make one final move that would shut the door on Malik and Keisha forever. 3 months later, I sat on the back patio of my house, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of purple and orange. The air was crisp, and for the first time in years, the silence wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. The mail lay on the glass table in front of me. On top of the stack was a plain white envelope with a stamp that read, State Correctional Facility. It had arrived 2 days ago. Malik had finally reached out. I took a sip of my iced tea and picked up the letter. I had already read it a dozen times, not because I missed him, but because the audacity was actually funny. Nia, the letter scrawled in his messy handwriting, you think you're smart. You think you won. That $85,000 in the Infinity Holdings account is mine. I earned that. When I get out of here, I'm coming for everything. The house, the money, the cars. You're just a placeholder. You're nothing without me. He was still trying to gaslight me from behind bars. He really believed he was the victim. A car door slammed in the driveway, snapping me out of my thoughts. Jamal walked around the side of the house, carrying 2 boxes of pizza. Tasha was right behind him, holding a bottle of wine. "Hey," Jamal called out, eyeing the letter in my hand. "Is that the fan mail from inmate number 0954? "The one and only," I said, tossing the letter onto the table like it was junk mail. "He says he's coming for his money." Jamal laughed, setting the pizza down. "Good luck with that. My lawyer just got off the phone with the DA. Malik took a plea deal yesterday. He got 8 years for grand theft auto and racketeering. By the time he gets out, he won't even remember the password to that account." "And Keisha?" I asked. I hadn't asked about her in weeks. Tasha poured the wine. She took a deal too, probation and community service in exchange for testifying against Malik. She's working at a diner across town now. My mom saw her there the other day, said she looked tired, old. I felt a twinge of pity, but it vanished as quickly as it came. They made their choices. "So," Jamal said, grabbing a slice of pepperoni, "did you do it? Did you make the move?" I smiled and reached for a different envelope on the table. This one was thick, cream-colored, and official. "I did," I said. The final move wasn't a lawsuit. It wasn't a restraining order. It was something far more permanent. I had taken the $85,000, Malik's dirty money, and I had donated every single cent of it. But not just to any charity. I donated it to a foundation that helps women recover from financial abuse and domestic betrayal. And the best part? I made the donation in his name. I sent him the receipt this morning, along with a note that said, "Thanks for the donation. You finally did something good for women. Consider this our final settlement." Jamal nearly choked on his pizza, laughing. "You are cold, Nia. Ice cold. I love it." "I'm not cold," I said, looking out at the yard where I used to cry alone while Malik was working late. "I'm just clear. I know my worth now." My phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize. My stomach tightened for a second. Old habits die hard, but then I opened it. "Hi, Nia. This is David from the adoption agency. We reviewed your application and your financial statements. Everything incredible. We'd love to schedule a home visit to discuss matching you with a child." I stared at the screen, tears pricking my eyes. The doctors told me I couldn't carry a child. Malik told me I was broken. Keisha used a fake pregnancy to mock me. But now, I was going to be a mother on my own terms. "What is it?" Tasha asked, seeing my face. I turned the phone around to show them. Tasha squealed and hugged me. Jamal looked at me that same proud look he had at the wedding when he exposed everything. "See," Jamal said, raising his wine glass, "I told you the show was just beginning." I picked up my glass and clinked it against theirs. "To new beginnings," I said. "And to loyalty," Jamal added. We sat there laughing as the stars came out, eating pizza and planning the nursery. Malik was in a cell. Keisha was serving tables, and me, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. They tried to write my story as a tragedy. They tried to make me the victim, but they forgot that when you break a woman down, you just give her the pieces to build herself back up stronger. I took one last look at Malik's letter, then picked up the lighter from the table. I lit the corner of the envelope and dropped it into the ashtray, watching the paper curl and turn to ash. The chaos was over. My life was finally mine, and trust me, it was going to be beautiful.